Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions of the worlds of TV, film, pop culture, social media, sports, everything really depending on the guest. We talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. You'll recognize my guests from a lot of cool TV shows, including Hunters on Amazon Prime and Good Girls, which you could watch on Netflix. And he's also in one of my favorite horror films, Summer of '84. Caleb Emery is back on the show. Caleb, welcome back to Popternative, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like 2 years ago you came on the show.
I think so. Yeah, it's been a little while now. So
we didn't have a chance to talk about Hunters.
Yeah,
but I mean, that show was just kind of the talk of the town when it was on.
Yeah, that show was massive. I mean, obviously it had Al Pacino in it, which helps a lot. But yeah, Amazon did a really good job with just everyone involved in that, with Monkey Paul and things like that. But yeah, it was a great show.
Absolutely. And Good Girls is still going on strong. And what I thought interesting about that is you've been on that show for quite some time as well.
Yeah, I've been on there. We're going on the 4th season, so it's been a pretty good journey now.
Do you ever talk to the cast and crew about, because obviously, you know, it was a cable television show, you know what I mean, on NBC.
Yeah.
But then like it got like put on Netflix. Have you ever talked about like, because I watch it on Netflix, right? Like I'm in Canada, it's on Netflix. Have you ever talked about that with like the cast and crew about like, have you seen kind of a spike once it got kind of put on Netflix as well? Like more people can kind of watch it?
Yeah, I believe like our international rights were done through Netflix. So just in the US it's on NBC, and then internationally it's on Netflix. I've personally seen more of an increase once it hits Netflix of more fan interaction and things like that. But we still got good numbers when it came on network. So I think the network did it well, and then Netflix, obviously the platform Netflix is, it just like skyrockets it.
Absolutely. And it's almost like the gift that keeps on giving for horror movie fans. I mean, Summer '84. I mean, are we close to say this could be kind of like, I don't know what you think about like the whole cult classic, but I mean, it's getting a cool following.
It is. I mean, like you said, we talked briefly before about Shudder picking it up and it being on Shudder, and them pushing it like has really, I think, made it bigger in the horror film world. And so a lot of people are calling it a cult classic. I hope so. I mean, I think it's a great movie, and it was really well done, well written, and has a good cast.
You're part of a film that's part of like, there's like a kind of bubble or like crop of like horror films from like 2017 to like 2020. Like there's a 3-4 year bubble where there's just some incredible horror films that are resurfacing. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny to hear the movies and things that people compare our movie to, and they put in the same realm of it. And it's like they talk about it, and then they talk about Summer of '84. And I don't know if it's because of the teenage boy like world, but to think about being compared to a movie like It, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool.
It's It meets Stranger Things meets Scream. That's how I kind of look at it.
Yeah. Now they're rebooting Scream, so that'll be good.
I know. I saw the cat. They announced the cast for that. It's insane.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's one of those things where, you know, you're working on a show like Hunters, and this is obviously like, I saw it like on your social media, like the promotion that you were doing was just like crazy for that show. But that show was kind of one of those shows where as soon as it was kind of trailers were released for it on Amazon, you kind of knew it was going to be kind of a big deal. What was the calm before the storm like for you a couple of days before it kind of aired on Amazon Prime? What was that kind of like for you?
We had the premiere in LA, and I remember I was just telling a buddy of mine, I said, it's so weird when you get recognized in public or things like that, like minimally. But when we walked out of the theater after the premiere of it, it was nuts. Like we couldn't even get to our car to go to like the party afterwards. And I think that's when I realized, I was like, this show's going to be pretty massive. I mean, like when we filmed it, like it didn't really feel like anything different than anything else I've filmed before. Like it just was like, this is a cool show. It's got a good like vibe to it. And then once, yeah, like the promotion started, I was like, this is gonna be quite large of a production.
I know it was, but like I feel like everything now coming out on Amazon, Netflix, like show or TV, like everything is bigger. I find. Do you agree with that? Like everything looks better, everything looks bigger. Like it's crazy. And some of these things are not even like the biggest. Like Summer of '84, like that wasn't a huge budget film. You know what I mean?
No, yeah,
And it looks so good.
yeah. No, these people are putting. I mean, you have these filmmakers that are coming out of everywhere that are putting such good work together that when you make a movie with a lower budget like Summer of '84 compared to a show like Hunters, which has a larger budget, it's the quality is close to similar because of how good these filmmakers are.
But it's like the acting too. Like I'm gonna be honest with you, when Summer of '84 came out, you know, a lot of people didn't really like. I think Riverdale was out at the time, so people would have maybe recognized Tara Scovey, but I don't know, like Judah Lewis, like I think it was around Babysitter, I don't know, but like for you, like I think that was like I don't think Good Girls or Hunters were obviously out, you know what I mean? And Graham was in Stargirl, obviously that was on Disney Plus, that film, but like. And you know what I mean? Like it kind of like the cast is pretty massive. You look at it now because later a lot of you guys did such amazing projects.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Riverdale I think was out, so Tiara had that. But as far as like the rest of us, Graham was doing like a guest star spot in Good Doctor, and then Corey went off after Summer of '84 and started filming Anne with an E that was on Netflix, and then there's a fly in my eye.
I saw him kind of like on your shirt. I was like, what's he going to do?
It got right there in my eye. Yeah, and then I went off and did Good Girls and continued and got to do Hunters and a couple other projects. So after Summer of '84, I think we all kind of had a little bit of a rise. And now Tiara's gone off and done Nurses that's up in Canada as well. And that's doing great. So I think we've all had a pretty good run.
She also did the second season of Dirty John, which is huge too.
I know. I was hanging out with her in LA while she was filming that one, and it sounded like it was going to be pretty good, and it was. So
no, absolutely. So like almost like a stepping stone for the rest of you a little bit, like Summer of '84, right?
Yeah, they got us like this fly like really wants.
I know he wants to be in the shot.
No, yeah, I think it was like a little bit of a stepping stone for everybody. I think it just like caught us at the perfect time in our career that we could all come together and make something good, and then we all went off and kept going. So
I'm a geek right now, obviously, with like the horror movies. Like I love it. I've talked to you about this like on Instagram as well. I mean, for people that have watched Summer of '84, I mean, a little bit of a spoiler. I mean, I'll put spoiler in the credits. It's fine.
Yeah.
But like, there could easily be a sequel of this film. If you think about it. Yeah, there could be.
Granted, I very pushed for a prequel more than a sequel. For obvious
I was
reasons,
about to say, yeah.
But
hey, man, flashbacks are important. Flashbacks happen.
Flashbacks are very important. No, there very well could be, and a lot of people want it. So like,
but like the ending is like, you know, that scene with Richie and Graham. I mean, he's gonna come after him. He wants to come after him. I mean, we don't really. It's kind of open ended. You know what I mean?
I always said, I was like, they should push it like 20 years later. And it's like, so like Graham's in his 30s and it's like, he's got a kid. And then this guy like comes back and torments his kid. And it's like, it could be like pretty intense. That's what I pushed early on.
The movie kind of like, cause like I'm watching this movie with my family, right? Cause I've watched it many times, but like they haven't had a chance to watch it. So they finally watched it. Right. And the whole time they are like, oh, there's going to be a twist. Like he's not the killer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like that was done on purpose. Like, I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that was kind of like an anti-twist. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I think early on they said. They were like, you know, Rich, obviously, his character, Mackie, a lot of people assumed was going to be the killer from the beginning. They were like, oh, maybe. But as the movie keeps going forward and things like that push, you kind of question your own
Especially when
judgment.
Corey is like, it's for a project. Mackey's out. Remember that whole call? That was an
Yeah.
important part of the movie.
Yeah. And then like a lot of people thought Tierra's character could have been the killer and pushed for that because of how interesting it was.
You want to hear something interesting?
Yeah.
Graham's dad in the movie was
I've heard that one before too.
He was sketching me out a little bit.
Yeah.
He was acting kind of like very protective of Mackie whenever it would happen, whenever the conversations would happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tierra's character for sure, but just the way it was like Rich is such a good actor, right? So the way it was
he's
kind
incredible.
of the way that scene is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, poor Woody, man. Woody unfortunately would not be in that sequel. I apologize.
Just a little flashbacks here and there, maybe we'll see.
And then I mean, you're 2 for 2 a little bit too. I mean, Hunter is like.
I mean,
I'm sorry, man. I mean, flashbacks.
Yeah, flashbacks. We'll get the flashbacks.
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, yeah, I know. I just thought about that right now. Like, yeah, your character is, spoiler alert, dies in Hunters as well.
Yep, that happened. If you haven't seen Hunters, you should still watch it.
Yeah, no, for
it's a
sure.
great show.
It is an amazing show. But no, like, and that's my question. As like an actor and a storyteller, I mean, there's all these different methods and mechanisms that are used in the scripts and stuff. And I feel like the flashback, though, is truly being used a lot in that. And you're seeing, like, your favorite character passes away in a show. They do come back for other shows as, like, flashbacks or other things. Like, that does happen.
There's a flashback in Hunters that I come back in near the end of the season, so...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So...
Oh, is that the one where you're, like, guilting him, basically?
Yeah, there's like 3 of us. I think it's the 3 people that have died at that point.
And they're guilty.
In the show, yeah, that he's kind of in this like weird trance going through like the Brooklyn streets during a riot, and we're all kind of in the riot.
You know what I found out, which is interesting on, which is very sneaky in IMDb. I don't know if you heard about this. So you know how they have like previously on Hunters or previously on Suits. Do you know that if you show up in that recap, but you're not in that episode, that still counts as an episode?
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't even know that. That's funny.
So I have a friend who did 1 episode of Suits. But it was a really big, important episode. So it shows up in recaps a lot. And it says he's done 4 episodes.
But he's only done one. That's smart. Good for him. That's great for him.
It's but another thing too is like more a serious note about kind of acting. I mean, you know, the job is auditioning. You guys are just auditioning, making self-tapes the whole time. I don't think people realize that is the job. Like you are an auditioner. That's what you do.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah. And the amount of auditions I'm hearing my friends that are doing right now, it's crazy. Like I don't even know how they're even able to tape all those auditions sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's the big job. But then it's like you shoot the show, right, like, that you get, and then it's like you're playing the waiting game of like if you're gonna get cut out of it or not.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do you kind of deal? How does an actor kind of deal with a lot of that? I mean, you don't just. I guess you just play it even keel. You don't think about it. I guess.
Yeah, you just move. I look at it as like once you audition, you audition hundreds of times to get like 2 projects, like type thing. And once you get the role, it's kind of the fun of filming, and of course, like. You're still working, so work is work. And then once you're waiting for it to come out, you can't really think about how much you're going to get cut out of it. Like, if you do and you're banking on it, you're obviously not doing much work after that. So, like, you need to be focused on the next job and, like, trying to book the next project and really put work into those auditions. So, like, you shouldn't have to worry about if you get cut because then you should be like, oh, well, like, I'm already filming the next thing. Like, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like just keep moving on. That's how I deal with it. I'm just like I just want to keep working. I don't really care what you do with the show once I'm on it. Like obviously I want it to be a success, but like if you cut me out, like I understand it's just part of the process.
But I feel like there's the opposite. I feel like there's some people that are so into the craft and so into acting that it would affect them. You know what I mean? It would.
Yeah, I mean if it depends. I think when you read a script, once you have done a lot, you understand kind of what could get cut and what couldn't. And you know what's important and what's not for the storyline of that episode. So you read it and like you're like, okay, well, I'm not really going to get cut out of a lot because, I mean, that scene's pretty important. So, like, if you think along those lines, then you kind of feel a little bit more comfortable. But it is when you put a lot of work in and effort in, and you if it gets cut, it hurts a little bit because you're like, I worked hard on that scene, and then it's not in there. So
Absolutely. We didn't talk enough about Good Girls. So before we wrap up, I mean, Good Girls. I mean, that show is just. Oh, just give me 1 second. My phone rang. Just wanna. I edited it out, so I just want to. It's all good. It's one quick question, and then we're wrapping up. Don't worry about it.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
This fly is still flying around.
I got rid of your eye.
It won't stop.
Okay, I think we're good now. Going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. So. Sorry. Oh. Do you hear that in the background? Oh.
I don't know.
Oh. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I mean, there's a lot of fans of Good Girls. You know, I want like before we wrap up, just kind of talk a little bit about what kind of people can expect from the last couple like seasons of Good Girls. I mean, talk a little bit about the like your character is kind of around. You know what I mean? But we talked about Summer of '84. We talked about Hunters. We can't forget about Good Girls.
Yeah, Good Girls is great. I mean, it revolves around these 3 moms that kind of fall on hard times and need to make money or get money somehow. And they end up coming up with this scheme where they rob a grocery store. My character, Tyler, or Baby Tyler in the show, I actually play the security guard of the grocery store that one of the characters works at / they rob. And they rob it, and they end up realizing that grocery store has been laundering money for like a cartel or a mob. So background of that. But like it's so funny. Like my parents are a big fan of the show. Like, not even because I'm in it, just because they like that show. And they talk, and they like every time we talk about an episode, they're like, these girls keep getting themselves into more and more trouble. Like every time they do something, it seems to dig them a bigger hole. And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, that's the point of the show, but it's also good entertainment for everybody else because you're like, are you kidding me? And my character, I've been around since the first episode of the first season. And the last episode, or the last season, season 3, they left the grocery store. So my character only popped up when one of my old bosses was about to go to jail. And so I think you're going to see a little bit more of my character in the next season, which will be nice. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it's a great show. It was on NBC in the U.S. It's internationally on Netflix. And I believe you can watch all 3 seasons now on Netflix.
Amazing, man. Well, Caleb, thank you for coming back on Popternative to catch up, man. This was awesome.
Yeah, always, man. As always, I'll always come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
Best place is Instagram. More active there at Caleb Emery. All my other handles are Caleb Emery as well. So if you want to check me out, hit me up. There I am.
Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. And until next time, this is Caleb Emery and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.